this video, we will talk about the slope-intercept form of a line. So first of all, the slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b, where this m represent the slope and the b here represent the y-intercept. So in other words, if you have an equation in that form, like this example, you can find the slope and the y-intercept. So in this example, the slope will be -2 and the y-intercept will be 3. So we can use these two pieces of information to help us graph. Well, we will begin with the y-intercept. We will begin with the b. Well, y-intercept is 3, so start from 3 here on the y-intercept. Start from 3, and we will use the slope -2. Well, if we see it as rise over run, it's -2 over 1. So that means you will rise by -2. That means you will go down by 1, 2, and your run will be +1. So on the positive direction of the x-axis, 1. So you will find the second point. So connect those 2 points, you will have a line. So that is the graph of this equation. Okay, so let's look at another example. Graph 3x plus 4y equals 8. Well, this equation is not in the y equals mx plus b form. So to graph using the same method we used earlier, we have to turn it into the slope-intercept form. In other words, we need to leave this y by itself. So how do we leave y by itself? Well, first we want to subtract 3x on both sides of the equation. Then we have 4y equals -3x plus 8. All right, to leave y by itself, we want to divide both sides by 4. In this case, divide each term by 4. So y equals -3 over 4, this many times of x, plus 8 divided by 4 is 2. So now that we turn this equation into the slope-intercept form, we can find the slope and the y-intercept, where the slope here is, well, the number in front of x, which is -3 over 4, and the y-intercept here is, you can tell, 2. So let's use a point to represent it. It's 0, 2. Okay, so now with all the information here, we can graph. All right, start from the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is 2, so start from here. That's the first point on the graph. And we can use the slope to find the other point. The slope, you can see it as either -3 over 4 or 3 over -4. You will get the same graph either way. So if you see it as -3 over 4, that means your rise is -3. That means you will go down by 1, 2, 3. That's your rise. Your run is +4, so you go to positive direction of the x-axis by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you end up with your second point. Connect those 2 points, you will have a line. Well, if you go with 3 over -4 as your slope, that means your rise is +3. So starting from here, you have to go up by 1, 2, 3. That's your rise. And your run is -4, so you need to go to the left by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you will end up with this point. So you can see all these 3 points are on the same line. Oops, my graph is not very straight. Okay, so this is the graph. Okay, next example. Well, how do we graph this equation, y equals 3? Well, y equals 3, I can't find the slope. Well, because we're missing the x term. So the slope here in this case is 0. You can see this as 0x plus 3. You don't have the x term. So the slope is 0. You should have a horizontal line, and with y-intercept equal to 3. So since your y-intercept is 3, you should start here, and it's a horizontal line. So it's a horizontal line passing the y-axis by 3. Okay. So how about x equals -1? How do we graph this equation? Well, x equals -1 is actually a vertical line passing -1 on the x-axis. So it will look like this. So this line is x equals -1. So why is this line x equals -1? Any point on this line, if you check their x coordinate, is always -1. So for example, this point is -1, 2, and this point is -1, -3. So any point on this line has x coordinate of -1. So there's a trick to remember the equation of a horizontal line and a vertical line, which doesn't make sense, but I say y is wide. So the one with the y is the horizontal line. Then the other one is the vertical line.